Hello everyone, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel, the I Need to Know YouTube channel. Today we're going to be discussing another topic, raising a strong-willed child. I'm sure quite a number of us as parents will be able to relate to what I'm about to say. The truth about it is that raising a strong-willed child sometimes could seem very difficult. Have you ever sat down or have you ever been in a position where you begin to ask yourself questions? You ask yourself, where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? I've tried everything possible and nothing seems to be working. Well, today I'm going to give you a few tips on how to go around that mountain or how to work with your strong-willed child. But before we go ahead, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. So who are the strong-willed children? First and foremost, we need to understand as parents that a strong-willed child is a world changer. They are game changers. They are the type of children that we always want to try out new things. They are the ones that we dare to do what others will never ever want to do. They have a mind of their own. They are the ones that we usually want to question your authority when you ask them to do things. They will always come up with that question, why? Because they always want to know. They are the ones that want to learn by experience and not necessarily through what you are telling them to do or what they have seen others do. They want to learn by experience. The truth is this, dealing with a strong-willed child can actually be the best kind of parenting you can do. Why? These children are outspoken. So they have a mind of their own. They will always tell you what they have on the inside of them. Unlike some other children who are just compliant. They just say yes to you. You don't know what is going on in their minds. You don't know if they are actually willing to do those things or not, just because they have complied. That doesn't make them the good child. And so because this other set of children that will always comply, you know, it looks like though the strong-willed child, in quote, is labeled the bad child. They are actually not bad. They are the type that are strong-willed, they are courageous, they are bold, and they are willing to stop at nothing to get whatever they want. So as a parent, we need to understand the uniqueness of a strong-willed child and then help them to channel their uniqueness into something positive. Before we go ahead, I'd like to ask us, how do you parent your child in the first place? Basically, we have 4 various ways that parents do that. The first is what I call the way it's been done before. That's parenting your child the way your parents did. Even though this may seem right on its own, but it's not always the right way. Don't forget that the times are changing. The world has changed and is still changing. For instance, in our own time, the kind of games we had in place for us were outdoor games. Some of us can actually relate to what I'm saying. We had games like the sway, the 10-10, and the likes of that. And so we'll always have our parents watching over us outside. Usually they'll come out in the evenings to take fresh air and all the children are outside. So they had the ability to actually look into whatever we were doing. But these days, it's no longer that way. What do we have now? We have a situation whereby the internet has practically taken over the lives of both the children and the parents. Children no longer go outside to play. Most of the time you find out they are locked up in their rooms or they're in the sitting room, and what are they doing? They are on one gadget or the other. They are online, they are watching something online, or they are playing a game online. There is no way you're going to use the same method that was used in time past to parent a 21st century child. Again, another method we as parents use is the intuitive method. What do I mean by the intuitive method? And that's the method whereby we do what we know how to do, or what we feel we know how to do. Don't forget the saying that says, iron sharpeneth iron. Just like the countenance of a man will sharpen the countenance of another man. Sometimes you may want to know what others are doing. Sometimes it might be good for you to share experiences and probably compare notes. How are you doing yours? You have a teenager. I don't have a teenager. I have a preteen. I'm getting there. How are you able to overcome, issues here and there? It's important that we understand the fact that you can also learn from other people. Sometimes we also allow the society to train our children for us, and this includes peer groups, teachers, and even social media. I tell you, this method of parenting could be very, very dangerous. Why? The informations that these children are likely to get from these methods may not be authentic enough. How would the child be able to process it and know which is good and which is bad? Another method that parents use in raising their children is what I call across the board method. And what do I mean? We find out that some of us as parents, we raise our children exactly the same way we raised the previous ones. For instance, you might believe that what worked in raising your first child should work in raising your second child. That's not always true. That's the copy and paste method. The truth is that each child is unique. So we should be able to find an original script for each child. Why? Because they have different behaviors, they have different understandings, different orientations, different makeup. So what worked with the first child may not necessarily work with the next child. So basically we have the compliant child who will always take to every instruction without asking you why. And then you have the strong-willed child who will always ask questions. They will always want to know why you want them to do certain things. And the problem with the compliant child is that we as parents, unknowingly to us, we tend to destroy their will because they become over-dependent on us. They depend on us to make every single decision for them. But the strong-willed child, it's not like that. The case is different. They will always ask you why, because they want to know. They need proper explanations for every single thing. So for the strong-willed child, you may need to give them light or slight explanations for anything you want them to do. It's important for us to know that for the strong-willed child, when their heart is set at doing anything, it becomes a bit difficult for their brains to adjust. In fact, their brains will keep struggling. Why? Because their mind is already made up on what they want to do. So how do I know a child that is strong-willed? Number one, they will always ask you why. Number two, sometimes when they want to express how hurt they are, they usually have this angry outburst. Another way we can know is that they can argue forever. They will argue and argue. They never want to back down on anything. Sometimes they can be very impatient, very, very impatient. And they even go as far as making their own rules for themselves. The truth is, they want to go at their own pace without anyone necessarily putting any pressure on them. The strong-willed child is self-motivated. And guess what? The good thing about them is that they are not easily tossed to and fro by peer group pressure. Why? Because they have a mind of their own. So how do I begin to get along with my child that is strong-willed? First, I told you earlier that The strong-willed child is a child that lives his or her life through experiments. They want to experience certain things. You can always allow them, give them that allowance to be able to do things on their own. Of course, except when their lives are in danger or you feel they are really going to hurt themselves, then you may need to put your feet down on certain things. But otherwise, let them feel free to express themselves. Sometimes you discover that when you give them that opportunity, they also make mistakes and they realize that you were right in the first place. Another way you can get along with your strong-willed child is by giving them choices. In fact, when you give them choices, it makes them feel like they are actually the ones in charge because they get to make the decisions by themselves. But make sure those choices are choices that are firm enough for you so that they don't go off their limits. Don't also forget the fact that the strong-willed child will always want to test every limit. They want to push the boundaries at every point in time. So give them choices. Again, you need to avoid power struggles with your strong-willed child. Really, you're actually the one in charge. They are not the ones in charge, so there's nothing to struggle about. Avoid power struggles with them. Sometimes it will be advisable for you to even allow them set up a disciplinary action by themselves. I do that, you ask them or you discuss it with them. Agree on the consequence for not doing what they are meant to do. And so the choice becomes theirs to make. Okay, if I do this, this is what happens. If I don't do this, this is what happens. That way, they feel like they're actually the ones making the decisions. So if they decide, to do the opposite of what you are asking them to do, they already know the consequences. And when you stand your ground and follow through to that disciplinary action, you discover that the next time, trust me, they will not go back to that thing. Another thing you need to do is to listen to them. You need to be patient with that strong-willed child. Sometimes we as parents, we also feel that we know when we really do not know. Sometimes we may think we understand when we really do not understand. If you're patient enough to listen to that child, you're likely to begin to see things from the perspective of the child. That way, it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to negotiate with them. And there will be no power struggles at the end of the day. Please take time to listen to them. It's very important. When you patiently listen to them, you're able to know what exactly is influencing this child. What exactly is making this child take these decisions. But when you do not listen, there is no way you're going to know the force or the power behind the decision the child is about to make. But when you listen to them, it helps you. It saves you a whole world of trouble because you now understand their point of view, you know where they are coming from, and you know what is influencing them. If it's a negative influence, you know how well to handle it. If it's a positive influence, you know how well to handle it. So for today, this is all we can take. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Till I come your way next time, stay blessed.